just being in tears itself indicates somebody is very overwhelmed by emotions. But if somebody is in tears in public, that means the emotion must have hit them really very hard. That's why they are not able to restrain themselves. So that is Arjuna's situation over here. So I request different participants to read one paragraph. Who would like to read the first paragraph? Yes, please.
Oh my Lord, many are the times when I feel lost and lonely, confronted with perplexities of life. At those times, when nothing I do seems to be working, I cannot help but wonder, do you, O Lord, know my plight?
Yes. So, I have traveled across the world, and I have, as the last 10 years, I've been almost 7, 8 months a year, I'm outside India. I've spoken to people from many different demographics, different religions, different worldviews, different upbringings, and there will be many disagreements. But there is one sentence I often start my classes. This is one truth which everyone, when I speak it, everyone nods their head. And that truth can be conveyed in 3 words. The 3 words: life is hard. Isn't it? That life is tough, life is not easy. Now, the exact way in which life is hard may be different for different people. For somebody who is very poor, life is hard in the sense that they don't know whether they will get food or not. But for somebody who is wealthy, maybe for them the worry is whether, what if I lose my job and this happens or that happens. Life is hard for everyone. So now, in the light of life being difficult, how do we make sense of life? How do we function positively and purposefully in life? So, the specific way in which life is hard for Arjuna is quite distinctive. Very few of us will have to fight against our relatives the way Arjuna has had to fight. I was giving a talk in Bangalore once. I had written a book called Gita for the CEO. So I was giving to talk to corporate leaders. And after that, one person came to me and he said that, I said, I told in the class that it's very unlikely that we'll have to fight against our relatives the way Arjuna has had to fight. So he told me that, I am in a situation like Arjuna. He said, not that I have to fight with arrows, but I have to fight with legal orders. Like there's inheritance, and there's a big fight over inheritance. And these are my siblings. I don't want to fight with them. But he said, the way I am being dealt with is extremely unfair. I have to. So the point is that sometimes somebody's difficulties may resonate with us. But even if they don't, the point is life is hard for everyone. And at that time, see, normally when we go through life, basically we all essentially, life involves 2 things. That what are the ends that we seek and what are the means by which we seek those ends. Okay, say, I want to get a bigger house. That's the ends. And then what could be the means? Okay, I have to earn more money, I have to get a loan, I have to relocate to an area where I can afford a bigger house, whatever. So basically, ends and means is what defines our life. Everything in our life. There are certain goals we want to achieve and certain processes, certain pathways by which we seek to achieve those goals. Now, when generally speaking, most people don't suddenly one day wake up and think about God. Now we have Nitai Prabhu here. Both of his children are amazingly devoted. I've just been talking and hearing about both of them. It's rare to have a family and younger children so devoted. It's possible, quite likely, that there's a spiritual orientation going on from previous lives. But for most people, it's not suddenly you start thinking about God. For most of us, what happens? When we are trying to pursue a particular goal, at that time, some obstacle comes in. So whatever means we have sought to use, with those means we try to pursue a particular goal, and suddenly that means no longer leads us to that goal. And at that time, we start thinking. Okay, that is the time when our vision moves upwards. Our vision moves upwards to something like, is there a higher being? Is there a God? What is going on in life? And is there a higher being who can help me deal with this problem? Who can help me make sense of my life? Who can help me achieve what is important for me? So generally, most people turn towards God when they are not able to achieve their desirables. Or we could say the opposite. When I say life is hard, it has two simple meanings. In what ways is life is hard? In the Srimad Bhagavatam, this is talked about by Prahalad Maharaj in his prayers. Yasmat priya priya viyoga sanyoga janma shokagnina sakala yonishu dahya mahana. He says that we all have certain things which are priya, which are desirable, and we want yoga with them. We want to get them. Yoga means connect with them. So, I want to come first in my class. I want to win this competition. I want people to like me. Whatever. What is priya? We want yoga with them. And then there is apriya, that which is undesirable for us. And with that, we want viyoga. So maybe we don't like somebody, and we are going for some destination wedding, and that person is also coming over there. And we hope we can avoid that person. And we find that that person is our room partner. So what happens? If we have viyoga, that is good. But the opposite happens is, with the priya, we have viyoga, and with the apriya, we have yoga. That which you don't want happens, and that which you want doesn't happen. And this happens to everyone. Sooner or later. So whether now sometimes if we are more wealthy, if we are more popular, we are more influential, we might be able to decrease some of the undesirables in our life. But we cannot avoid all undesirables. So essentially, so dukkha, when you say life is hard, there's distress in life. Distress is basically these two things. So when this happens, at that particular time, we may turn towards God. So is there a God up there who can? So we get this question, does God exist? Does God care for us? And that time, we may turn towards God. So let's look at that. Who would like to read the next paragraph? You have the mic? Please.
If you do know my suffering, then why do you not step forward to stop it? If instead of stepping forward to help me, I came to know that in those moments you were smiling while I was suffering, oh Lord, how would I be able to maintain my devotion to you?
Yes. See, in general, if we consider the difficult situations in our life, when I say life is hard, life is tough. So, what is the toughness of life? At one level, there is pain. So, pain itself is very difficult to bear. But what makes it difficult even more is pain alone. That I'm in pain and nobody even knows I'm in pain. Nobody knows, that's bad enough. But what is worse is nobody cares. That I am suffering and nobody cares. That is much, much more difficult to bear. When we are in pain and when we are all alone. In many ways, Arjuna knew he would be in that situation. Because everybody would think he's just got an attack of nerves. He's just become cowardly. When he's about to fight a war and he says, I don't want to fight. Even Krishna speaks similarly. Krishna is voicing the world's opinion when he says that kutastva kashmalamidam vishame sampasthitam. From where has this weakness come upon you? And Arjuna says, it's not weakness, Krishna. It's thoughtfulness. He says, how would it be for you, Krishna, if you had to fight against your guru and your grandfather? Katham bhishma maham sankhe dronam cha madhusudana. Ishubhi pratiyotsyami pujara varisudana. So when we are in pain and nobody understands our pain, nobody cares for our pain, that becomes even more difficult. But you could say what becomes most difficult is it's our pain. It's not just we are alone in our pain, but our pain is enjoyed by others. So it's a if I am walking along and if I slip and fall, and now it could be embarrassing. Maybe I'm injured. It could be an injury for my ego. It could be injury for my body. But if I slip and fall and nobody steps forward to help me, what kind of people are these? I don't want to be among such people. But if I slip and fall, and at that time everybody laughs at me, then what would happen is I would never want to be here. So like that, basically what happens is when our pain is enjoyed by others, it becomes even more difficult. So here in this particular and his son likes some of my classes, so his son was driving me to various programs, and his parents had told me that our son used to go to the temple very regularly and was very enthusiastic about bhakti in his childhood, but in his teens, young adulthood, he just stopped going. So so then when I was traveling, we were talking while driving in the car and everything. So he told me one thing. He said, I no longer like going to the temple. I said, can I know why? He said, my life is so difficult. I have so much anxiety, so much insecurity, so much stress. And whenever I go to the temple, Krishna is just smiling. So I feel as if Krishna doesn't care for me. So I thought that's a new one. The different reasons why somebody will stop going to the temple. That is the first time I heard something like that. So then I showed him this verse from the Bhagavad Gita. And that was actually what inspired me to write this prayer also afterwards. And then I sent him this prayer also. So I told him that here, when Krishna is smiling, see, this question for us is that, okay, if I am going through difficulties, does God know? Does God care? That's a natural question that all of us will get. Now, generally speaking, for us, when we are with someone and we talk with them, we tell them about the pain that we are in, we can see from their expressions, we can see from their words, their actions, that they care for us, they may intervene to help us. Now, for us, in some ways, Krishna is not that accessible to us. No, we can't directly sense Krishna's emotions unless we are very spiritually advanced. So then we are in difficulty and we may be praying, but then what is Krishna doing? That may be difficult for us to figure out. And that's why many times in difficulties, we may lose our faith, or at least our faith may become shaken. So let's read the next paragraph. No? Who would like to read the next paragraph? Okay, yes, go.
Bless me to remember, O Lord, that you are never smiling because I am suffering. It is through my suffering that I am becoming more open to your calling. You know my pain, you feel my pain, and you want to heal my pain. Indeed, you stand ready and eager to free me from all pain.
Yes. So, that when we are going through difficulties, as Krishna is smiling, but Krishna's smiling is not because we are in pain. It is that, see, we are often caught in this material world and we turn away from Krishna, we forget Krishna. We don't care for Krishna. And we can go on like that for some time. There are many different metaphors to explain the nature of this world. There's a metaphor that, so basically we say this world is the world of Maya. Now there are different metaphors to explain the nature of the world. And I have a list of about 8 metaphors and how each metaphor conveys different things. So for example, there's a metaphor of that this world is like a dream. And then Jiva Jago, Gaura Chandra Bole. That the idea is that this is not ultimate reality. We have to wake up to a higher reality. And sound is the means by which we wake up. That's one metaphor. Another metaphor is that this world is like a reflection. Urdhva Moolamada Shakam Ashwatham Prahurave. Now that we have to, that means, see, in the first metaphor, it's like a change of consciousness, a different state of consciousness we have to come to. That this world is a reflection and we need to go to the reality. That means that it's more like an intellectual redirection. Don't understand that if there is a reflection, there must be a reality. But if we are looking captivated by a reflected mango and we're trying to get it, that's not very intelligent. So turn towards the reality. So there the focus is more on intellectual growth, philosophical sharpness. Other metaphor is this world is like a jail. The word Durga means fort, but the fort is what traps us. So that metaphor focuses on moral reform, that we need to change our behavior. We need to act more virtuously, more devotionally. Now, in none of these metaphors, the idea of a loving God becomes emphasized. It's all what we need to do. And the idea is that every metaphor has its value. No metaphor conveys the reality completely. The metaphor I find most helpful is the metaphor of a hospital. So the world is like a hospital. In a hospital, distress is unavoidable. That's just a fact. But Krishna is like the doctor. And the doctor is here to help us heal. So, in many ways, we could say pain is a feature of the world. Its pain is going to be there for everyone, just in different ways, but pain is a feature of the world. Now, although pain is the feature of the world, it is not the purpose of the world. That's a very significant difference. Pain is always going to be there in a hospital. That it's just going to be there, but the purpose of the hospital is not to cause pain. Actually, the purpose of the hospital is to free us from pain. Now, we could say, when we say pain is a feature of the world, or pain is a feature of the hospital. So, broadly speaking, if we take the hospital metaphor, this metaphor emphasizes the idea that God is here to help us face the pain, to overcome the pain, and to become healthy. To become healthy. So, and now the idea of a bhavaroga, that it is said hearing the Bhagavatam is the cure for the bhavaroga. Nirutta tarshair upagiyamanad bhava aushadat shrotra manobhiramad ka uttama shloka gunanuvadat puman virajyet vina pashugnat. So hearing about Krishna is like the medicine for our disease of material existence. So the world is like a hospital. And now, if we talk about the idea of a hospital, the doctor actually knows the patient's pain. And the doctor wants to heal the patient's pain. So now sometimes the patient might be in denial. Actually, I have no problem. In medical terms, this is often called the no problem problem. Say somebody might have some issue. Somebody might have maybe they are vulnerable to heart attack or whatever, and they say you have to change your lifestyle, you have to do this, you have to do this. So no problem, no problem. So somebody might have some health problems and they don't take it seriously. But what happens is, often when there is a disease, now there are two things. There is disease and there is pain. So now while the two are related, they are not exactly the same. So now this is slightly philosophical. I'll try to explain it as simply as I can. But while there is a correlation between disease and pain, it's not exactly always the same. There could be a time when there is disease, but there is no pain. Hmm? And there could also be pain that is not caused by the disease. There could be pain that is actually meant to cure the disease. See, from the patient's perspective, now maybe somebody has got some disease by which they are feeling a shooting pain in the body, and they get an injection, or they just undergo surgery, and after that they feel pain. Now, from the patient's perspective, both are pain only, but the pain is not the same. Hmm? One is caused by the disease, the other is meant to cure the disease. So, what we mean is that here, if we put this in terms of a 4-quadrant diagram, there is disease that is present or absent. Hmm? And there is pain that is present or absent. So now if we put 4 quadrants like this, where the disease is present but the pain is absent, where both are absent, where pain is present but the disease is not present, and where both are present. So now the denial, when will it come, in which quadrant? The denial? Disease is present but pain is absent. That's quadrant 1, isn't it? In quadrant 1, what happens? That this is where, no, there's no problem. The patient may think like that. Hmm? So what happens is, this is the denial phase. And many of us, we live in that denial phase. Hmm? So when we start feeling pain in our life, when we start feeling problems, now all of us have problems, but you think, I'll deal with this problem, I'll deal with this problem, I'll deal with this problem. It's like I have some pain, I pop a pain medication, the pain goes away. I pop another pain medication, the pain goes away. So basically, much of the entertainment and the distractions, they're all like pain medications. They call it quick dopamine hits. That you feel a little down, you feel a little... You have a disease, you have to treat it. And the patient is rejecting the diagnosis. And then the patient experiences pain. When the patient experiences pain and the patient comes running to the doctor, that time the doctor may smile. The doctor doesn't smile because the doctor is enjoying the patient's pain. The doctor is smiling because now the patient will become ready for the treatment. So for us, when we have hard times, when now we can say, tough time. No, times are never easy, but relatively speaking, sometimes the relative things are going okay in our life. Some things are going good, but sometimes things become very difficult. So those hard times are not an indication that God doesn't love or God doesn't care. They are indication that it's like the pain has become now active, it's become strong, and that is where now we need to start taking the treatment. So Krishna is not pleased because Arjuna is in pain. Krishna is pleased and smiling because Arjuna is turning to Krishna. There's a very categorical difference between the two. So let's go back and read this once again. It is through my suffering that I have become more open to your calling. That Krishna is calling us and we turn towards Krishna. So let's look at it. You can repeat this next sentence after me. You know my pain. You feel my pain. And you want to heal my pain. So this is Krishna. Krishna as Paramatma is present in our hearts. No doctor, however competent or however caring, is always with the patient. The doctor has a theoretical understanding of, okay, this fracture means this much pain, this cancer means this much pain. But Krishna is with us, within us. Krishna knows what we are going through. And Krishna wants us to be healed. So, who would like to read the next paragraph? Yes, please. Yeah, okay, there's Mike.
Let me remember your smile amid my suffering as a sign of your confidence and competence. that you can tackle any and every problem, no matter how gigantic it seems to me.
Yes. So if when there is a patient who's in great pain and the doctor smiles, that smile is not sadistic. And I enjoy your pain. That smile is meant to be reassuring. I can take care of things. I know what to do. Hmm? So for us, when we see Krishna smiling, Krishna playing his flute, Krishna smiling, that should give us the confidence that, okay, no matter what is going on in my life, Krishna is in charge and Krishna cares. And Krishna will deal with the situation, Krishna will help me to deal with the situation. See, three reasons I like the hospital metaphor very much. First is that it shows the idea of a loving God, that God is caring for us. Second is that it helps us make sense of the pain, the presence of pain. And third is that it emphasizes a human divine partnership. That treatment and healing is a doctor patient collaboration. So sometimes in some metaphors in bhakti or some metaphors in spirituality, the onus is put entirely on the soul. You have to come out of illusion. And sometimes it is entirely, oh God, whatever you want, you do. I just surrender to you. But the surrender also means that we have to follow. Around 20 years ago, I had severe TB. So actually for 1.5 years, I was constantly getting fever and chills, and they're not able to diagnose only what was happening. It is somehow it is a quirk of destiny. And finally, that is a simple thing to do. Finally, they did a chest X-ray, and they found a lot of lesions in the whole heart. And the doctor who had done the diagnosis, he was very great. He said, "You have got very serious TB." And my first response was, "Thank God." He looked at me as if I was crazy. What do you mean, thank God? I said, thank God, at least we know what is the problem. Now we can deal with it. Otherwise, what happens is, we just don't know what is going on, and then we are just groping and just fumbling and stumbling in the dark, trying to find out what to do. So that doesn't work. So for us, Krishna is competent. And Krishna is with us, Krishna is for us. So, when we are in pain, at that time, it is not that Krishna does not care for us. So, going back to that earlier metaphor, I talked about how normally we have our path planned in life. And what happens? This is a goal I want to achieve, and this is the means I'll achieve the goal. But then what happens? Some obstacle comes. And then at that time, we may turn to God. We may turn to Krishna so that Krishna can help us get here. Krishna can remove the obstacle and help us to get to the destination. So this is one level of turning towards God. And that is good.